a sickness that was not visible like smallpox, but no less dangerous and contagious, a sickness of the mind. A homosexual, a person who demands an intimate relationship with members of their own sex.
Homosexual behavior is harmful not only to society, but more importantly to the individuals who engage in that behavior.
You don't need to be in the pew every Sunday to know that there's something wrong in this country when gays can serve openly in the military.
People who are trapped in the homosexual lifestyle, they're in constant rebellion with order, with their natural order, with natural law.
If there's one characteristic trait of the gay agenda in the public school system, it's this: it's sneaky. It's usually designed to look like something else. It's disguised as something else.
The reason that HIV was invented as the cause of AIDS is it was a way to get research money.
We have to understand barbarians need to be educated. They need to be disciplined. And just because someone feels it or thinks it doesn't mean that we're supposed to go down that road.
I went to a religious school called Yavna. It's in Elstonwick. It's a Jewish school. And not having other friends in my year or above that I knew were gay themselves meant that I felt very alone. So I think in that respect, the religious community was almost a restriction on coming out, or not coming out earlier, I suppose.
I think that I've always had a lot of problems with religious opinions and the way that religious people look at the world in a lot of different aspects. And I remember when I was doing my coming of age ceremony, and I was a vegetarian at the time, and I had so many arguments with the rabbi.
My parents are they're quite religious, so when I came out, the first thing they said was like, it's not how God made you, and so they're kind of, not very supportive in that sense. Yeah.
I was born in Greece, and my background is Greek Filipino. I'm baptized Greek Orthodox, but I was raised in primarily a Catholic kind of context and setting. So coming to terms with the fact that I like boys and that I also like girls was not only confusing for myself, but it was just a bit of a shock to the system.
And so I've always had a few problems with the way that religious people see things, and I know that it's quite defined that in the religious community that you can't be gay and it's a sin and it doesn't work. And I once spoke about it with the rabbi's wife, and I said, what's the deal with that? What's up with that? And she just basically said, with men, they're wasting sperm and it needs to be made to procreate and things like that. And I said, okay, well, what about women? She said, it's more frowned upon.
Like, a lot of people around you might say that it's wrong and whatnot, but if you think it's right, then you should just be who you are.
And I've always felt that there was a strong place for me in the Jewish community, regardless of anything, especially sexuality. I go to a Jewish youth movement. I'm heavily involved with that. I'm a leader there. I go to a Jewish school. I have mostly Jewish friends, also non-Jewish friends, but mostly am surrounded by Jewish people constantly. I definitely think I have a strong connection with Judaism and a strong connection with the religion in a different kind of way, and more with the culture than anything.
I think I had it relatively easy compared to most people, and I feel quite fortunate because of that, as I have got quite a religious family. They're Orthodox as well. But I think it's sad to have to say that I was fortunate, because I think everybody should have to have the same easy right that I did. There were a few months where I think my family had to adjust to it. I don't think I was necessarily aware of the challenges that they were going to go through. I think that my parents went through a phase where they had to almost mourn the loss of the life they thought I was going to have as a straight person. They had to have time to then educate themselves about what being gay is. Because I think at the same time, when someone comes out, they're aware of their sexuality, they've had time to process it, and now they've got to be able to let others around them go through the same period that they go through.
My name is Fred Morgan. I'm the senior rabbi at Temple Beth Israel. Everything here hinges on what you're willing to allow the text to say, or where you're going to say the text no longer speaks loudly to us anymore, or we feel the text just doesn't apply in this instance anymore. And that's always tempered by what's actually happening in the wider society.
My name is Carolyn Francis and I'm a Baptist minister. The trouble, I guess, for me is that I think that at the time of the writing of those scriptures, there was really no sense of sexual orientation the way we understand it today. There was an understanding of sexual practice, but as we have grown in our knowledge through science and other research, I think we've come to understand sexuality differently.
It's definitely getting better. There are a lot more progressive religious faiths out there. There is a lot of the conservatives out there, but the important thing is that there are small pockets of change here and there, not only in Catholicism but in also other religions.
I must say, it's really struck me that though there are huge discussions about gays and lesbians and gender issues in religious circles, when I've just mentioned these things to my children, they're perplexed. They say, what's the problem?
I think that religion's a very personal thing and it's not for anyone else to define whether you belong there or not. If you feel a connection with it, that's going to remain. I mean, I'm not gay above my religion. I think that my identity is comprised of all these factors on a pretty equal level, and I'm not Liat the gay that happens to be a Jew. I am Liat the gay Jew or the Jewish gay person, you know, and that's just how I am. And it's important to me to remain that way. And there was a brief moment that I was unsure, and everyone's going to experience that, but don't let go of your identity and don't push aside factors of what make you you just because you've discovered something else.